Salut, bonjour, and welcome back to JustDisc. Today, we got something very special for you, and it's special because it's something I've been working on over the last 4 years. After countless hours of tutorials, tips, practice, really just trial and error at trying to better understand the backhand and improve my own, we've now gathered 5 core tips that we know will improve your backhands both in accuracy, distance, and power. Now, before we begin, we're not claiming to be masters of the backhand. There's always room for improvement, and we're still working on our game to this day. However, after countless tips that we've picked up throughout the years, there are 5 that have substantially stuck out and substantially improved my backhands as well as my friends. So today, we're going to let you know about these 5 core backhand tips because we figured out that they actually work. So let's get into it. One of the main issues I had for a very long time, which really halted my progress in disc golf, was releasing the disc with its nose angled upwards. When you release a disc nose up, you don't get the disc's intended flight, you lose a lot of distance, and the disc just wants to fade out early to the left. If this sounds familiar, and it should for a lot of you, here's a simple check to see if you're throwing nose up. After releasing the disc, if you can see the stamp on the disc, it means that the disc is still to nose up. Now, of course, nose up is not always a bad thing, especially when approaching, because it allows you to judge the distance better. However, if you're trying to get the intended flight of a disc and get max distance, nose up is going to ruin everything. When you take a disc, put it into your hand and just hold it comfortably, right away your wrist is not at the correct angle. It's angled more nose up. When you imitate pouring coffee from a carafe, this brings your wrist downwards into the correct position in order to release nose down. This angle is what you should keep during your entire throw. It's a very easy tip to learn, but one that's crucial to implement on a regular basis because your wrist angle dictates where the disc will go. Now, keep in mind that all skill levels, even the professionals, struggle with releasing the disc at the correct nose angle. That's what makes disc golf so difficult, but the professionals do it a little less frequently. So sometimes you'll notice they release it too high or too low, but most times they release it at the correct nose angle. So just don't be too hard on yourself. It happens to the best of us. Just keep trying and remember to be pouring that carafe. Now, another issue I had when trying to improve my backhands was a lack of power. We often heard all over the internet about the reach back, reaching back, and then coming through, hitting the door down with your elbow. And what we saw is that caused a lot of issues in the disc golf communities. The whole idea of reaching back doesn't exist. It's actually a natural way that your body flows when you rotate it correctly. It wasn't until I changed my focus from reaching back with my throwing arm to instead focus on rotating my opposing shoulder that I was finally able to generate additional power. By focusing on turning your left shoulder and showing your back to the target, it engages and winds up your core, hips, and legs, which is where the majority of your power comes from. Just think of your body as a coil. It turns, stores the energy, and then unwinds into the release of the throw. There are just so many players who mistakenly focus on that reach back and utilizing their throwing arm to get power. That's why you hear some disc golfers come back from even just one round and talking about how sore their arm is. They're not utilizing their body correctly. Just like regular golf, it's not how big and strong your arms are. It's more about rhythm, timing, and good use of your core. Honestly, give it a shot. Focus on turning that left shoulder and you're gonna see you'll get a lot more distance. Now, another issue that was substantially reducing the improvement of my backhands in both power and accuracy had to do with my run-up and feet position upon releasing the disc. Most disc golfers believe that if they want to throw straight, their legs and body should be parallel in line with the target, when they really should be positioned on a diagonal line to the left of the target if throwing right-hand backhand. This is because throwing with your body parallel to the target does not allow room for the disc to come through, which promotes rounding and thus a massive loss of power, but also accuracy. It becomes harder to time where the disc is going to be released. In addition, it also prevents good engagement of your legs, hips, and core, which is where the majority of your power needs to come from. The professional Joel Freeman already did an excellent video about this, where he talks about making a window with your legs in order to generate more power. This window opens up your hips, allowing for better rotational forces, improving accuracy and power. So if you're throwing right-hand backhand and your target's at 12 o'clock, your run-up and finish should be aimed at about 10 o'clock. This will not only improve the use of your core and get you more power, but it also creates a great path for the disc to travel through. It therefore prevents rounding, which is going to help you be more accurate. Now, another issue affecting my backhands and really the consistency of my releases had to do with where my elbow and forearm were positioned throughout the throw. When your arm is forced to move from high to low, it creates an air bounce, and from low to high leads to nose up releases. Both rob you of power and accuracy. So what's the fix? Well, you want your disc, elbow, and forearm at chest height at all times while leading with your elbow to bring the disc through. This puts you into the correct position, which is known as the power pocket. Keeping the disc at mid-chest height minimizes the chance of the disc dipping or rising unexpectedly, leading to smoother and more accurate flights. It also ensures that your body mechanics are in line and ready to generate maximum power, all while maintaining a consistent release point. Just remember to lead with your elbow during the entire throw to drive the disc forward. Now, the best way we figured to practice or really implement this is to set your arm up in the correct position right off the bat, right as you begin your throw up until the moment that you release the disc. It may seem a bit weird at first, but trust me, I've done this myself. I still do it to this day, and it just sets up more consistent releases. Now, you've probably seen professionals out there who dip too high or dip too low, but they always bring it back to the correct position before releasing. Obviously, if they're getting the job done, then why change it? Why fix it? But it is a big reason why some professionals struggle at staying consistent. Okay, now before we get into the final tip, we just wanted to do a quick reminder about release angles. It's important to keep in mind that your release angle is not dictated by where your arm is positioned. Keep your arm in that same position that we just discussed. You're not manipulating your arm or wrist, but instead you're manipulating your upper torso to create those hyzer and anhyzer angles. We've already done 2 detailed videos on this using your upper torso to create different angles and thus different shots. So if you're interested in that, be sure to check it out. Finally, we've reached the 5th core backhand tip, which has greatly improved our backhands over time. And it all has to do with where you release the disc. Common issue I had for a super long time was pulling a disc off to the right, releasing a good throw, seeing it fly, being like, wow, that's really far, but not on the intended line. This is because for the longest time we thought if we want to throw it straight at 12 o'clock, we need to release it straight at 12 o'clock, and this is completely incorrect. You want to aim to release the disc at around 10 o'clock for right-hand backhanders. This slightly early release gives your body the space it needs to complete its natural rotation without over-rotating. If you wait until 12 o'clock to release the disc, your arm has likely already passed the optimal point in your throw, which can lead to rounding. As we discussed, rounding not only reduces power but also leads to inconsistent throws as your arm's path becomes too wide and difficult to control. By mentally aiming at around 10 o'clock, you're essentially giving your body the time and space it needs to snap the disc cleanly without sacrificing accuracy. It aligns your upper body's rotational momentum and helps you generate that last bit of power and snap as you release. It's basically the ideal hit point of the throw that disc golfers have discovered over time. Think of it as hitting a sweet spot in your rotation that allows for both power and a controlled release. Now, the channel Overthrow Disc Golf already did an excellent video on how you can practice hitting that 10 o'clock hit point, so we'll be sure to link it in the video description to help you out. Now hold up, before you go, we got one final tip, a 6th tip that we picked up when watching a video from Tristan Tanner called "You Don't Spin the Disc, This Is Why." Now, we picked up this tip right before going out to film this video, and I implemented his tips, and my gosh, are they a game changer. So here's what he said. In his video, Tristan Tanner points out that a lot of players aren't curling their wrists enough when they throw, which has a huge impact on their form and the amount of spin they're able to put onto the disc. To combat this, he suggests over curling your wrist and keeping it curled during the entire throw, from the beginning right up until you're about to release the disc. He honestly believes that you can't over curl your wrists, and he challenges others to try it out themselves. Another key point Tristan talks about is players not keeping their eye on the disc long enough. They get into the power pocket, they start to come through, and their head begins to lift, which doesn't help with rounding. So like all other sports, keep your eye on the ball, or in this instance, the disc, for as long as possible. Maintain that curled wrist throughout the entire throw, and you're gonna see a big improvement to your form as well as spin and distance. I did it myself, and man, does it definitely help. So there you have it, 5 game-changing backhand tips that we've picked up throughout the years, done a ton of trial and error, and we know that these 5 tips will greatly improve your backhands. So if you learned something today and you like this video, you know exactly what to do. We had so much fun making this video, and it's been a long time coming, so we hope you got something out of it. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Merci beaucoup et à bientôt.